ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna and welcome back to today's episode of the Mahabharata. As we have seen last time, after Lord Krishna vanquished the evil Kamsa, his two wives became widowed, and Kamsa's two widowed wives, Asti and Prapti, went back to their father's home. And their father Jarasandha, when he heard that Krishna had killed Kamsa, because of which his daughters had become widows, he became very angry and he decided to take revenge. Thus, he collected a very huge army consisting of several Akshauhinis and he attacked Mathura. When he attacked Mathura, Krishna and Balaram, they repulsed Jarasandha's huge army with their own small army. With a very small army, they were able to very easily conquer Jarasandha's huge, well-equipped army. Within a short period of time, the entire army of Jarasandha was completely routed. Now, because Krishna and Balaram did not wish to conquer Magadha, which was the kingdom ruled over by Jarasandha, they captured Jarasandha alive and they set him free. On Jarasandha's side, his entire army was completely routed. All his army, soldiers, horses, elephants, all of them were killed. But the army manned by Krishna and Balaram, not even one person died. When Jarasandha was defeated so completely like this, he became completely depressed and he thought, let me give up my kingship, let me give up my kingdom, let me take sannyas and go away. But then his demoniac other friends, they all gathered and they inspired him, encouraged him and asked him to think positively and told him these victory and defeat are part of the game in every warfare. So they told him, don't take all this very seriously. You go back and you consolidate your army once again. Take another opportunity. Try again. Then Jarasandha took heart and then he went back to Magadha. And after a little amount of time, he managed to organize another huge army. And again, he attacked Mathura. The result was no different. Again, Jarasandha was defeated very easily by Krishna and Balaram. And then again, he was set free. Now, Jarasandha was a very perseverant person. He attacked Mathura like this, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 17 times he attacked Mathura. Every time the result was the same. But still, he never gave up. After being defeated the 17th time, he went back and again started consolidating and creating a new army. In the meantime, what had happened was, Garga Muni was the family priest of the Yadavas. And one time it so happened that Garga Muni's brother-in-law taunted him for something. Now the Yadava princes, they heard about the taunt and they also laughed at Gargamuni. When Gargamuni became very insulted like this, he decided, I'll produce a king who will be very fearful to the Yadavas. And like this, he begot a son in a Yavana princess. Yavanas are people who do not follow the Vedic rules and regulations. They are meat eaters, and such people are called Yavanas. So, the Gargamuni begot a son in a Yavana princess, and this son grew up to become a powerful Yavana warrior. He became a powerful Yavana king called Kala Yavana. And he was so powerful that nobody could stand before him in battle. So in time he heard about the opulence of Mathura, and he heard that Krishna and Balaram are very powerful warriors. So he decided, let me pick up a fight with them. And he came and attacked Mathura. By then, Krishna and Balaram got news that Jarasandha is planning to attack Mathura for the 18th time. In another 2 days, he is going to reach there. Already Mathura was besieged by this Kalayavana with his 30 million soldiers. Such a huge army. Mathura was hemmed in from all sides. And now, if Jarasandha also attacks Mathura, it is going to be a very serious affair. So, now Krishna consulted with Balaram and he said this kind of repeated attacks by Jarasandha is disturbing the peace of the Yadavas. Although for us to defeat him and send him away is not a big deal. But then, for the citizens, it is a constant harassment. It's actually not even a harassment, it was simply a nuisance. So, to solve this problem of Jarasandha repeatedly attacking Mathura, Krishna decided to build a very fortified city. And therefore he called Vishwakarma, the chief engineer of the Devatas. And he instructed him to build a very well fortified city in the middle of the sea, off the coast of Gujarat. And that is how the Dwaraka fort was built across an area of 96 square miles. Vishwakarma, because he is the chief engineer of the Devatas, he could build this city in record time within a couple of days. Unlike today's government projects, which take years together and have a lot of cost overruns, schedule overruns, budget overruns, coupled with so many scams and scandals, there was no such thing during those times. And when the Devatas heard that Krishna is building a new city, so all of them came forward with various gifts. Indra gifted Krishna a wonderful assembly hall called Sudharma. The specific characteristic of this Sudharma hall was such that anybody who would enter this assembly hall, he would not be disturbed by the infirmities of old age. And with full intellect and wisdom, the people could participate in the assembly proceedings of the government. So like this, different Devatas came forward and they all gifted various things for the building of this mega city. Because he is the master of all the Devatas, he is the owner of all the different planetary systems, as Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, he is the supreme controller of all the planets, including the Swarga Lokas where the Devatas reside. And Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, he is the chief enjoyer of all the sacrifices which one may perform for any Devata. Any sacrifice we may perform, yajna we may perform, either for Ganesha or Lord Shiva or for Indra, Brahma, whomever we may want to appease with a yajna, the Yajnapati, the chief enjoyer of the yajna has to be Vishnu. Then only that sacrifice for that particular Devata becomes fulfilled. So, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, is the supreme controller. He is the master of all the Devatas. So, naturally, when he was building a city, all the Devatas came forward to contribute their might for building this city. And then, Krishna, what he did was, he assumed the four-handed Vishnu form and he walked out of the fort of Mathura unarmed. And when Kalayavana saw that this four-handed Vishnu, looking very beautiful, having the complexion of a dark rain-bearing cloud, wielding a lotus in his hand, and he is walking like this, he immediately understood that this Vishnu is the person whom I have come to attack. But he is unarmed, so I cannot attack him with my arms like that. So he also, following the codes of conduct of battle, he got down from his chariot and he also started following Vishnu on foot. And he kept calling out, "Hey, where are you going away? Turn back and fight with me." He started challenging like this. And he ran behind Vishnu trying to catch him. But Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead. He cannot be caught by any material person. Although Vishnu was very peacefully walking, Kalayavana was running behind him, but Vishnu was faster than Kalayavana. And slowly, Vishnu led him, Kalayavana, to a cave, and he entered that cave and he disappeared. And when this Kalayavana entered the cave, he found one person lying inside the cave, and he thought, "Oh, this Vishnu he is pretending to be sleeping because he is afraid of me." Thinking like this, he kicked that man who was sleeping and told him, "Wake up, what are you pretending to sleep? Get up and fight with me." And that sleeping person was actually a king by the name Muchukunda. This Muchukunda had in very earlier times, he had assisted the Devatas in fighting with the demons. The fight between the Devatas and Asuras keeps happening at various times. In one of those fights, the Devatas had enlisted the support of Muchukunda because he was a very powerful king. He was a very powerful king at that time on earth. And he also participated in that battle and helped them. And after the battle, he was feeling very tired. And when the Devatas asked him, "Do you want any benediction from us because you have assisted us very nicely?" Then Muchukunda said, "I want to take a lot of rest. So you please bless me that I will be able to have a very long rest as long as I want to. And if anybody disturbs my sleep, he should be immediately killed." So therefore the Devatas blessed him. "We bless you that you can have a very long rest to your heart's content. And if anybody disturbs your sleep, then when you look upon him, he will get burned to death." So when this Muchukunda was kicked by Kalayavana, Muchukunda woke up and the first person he saw was this Kalayavana. And because Kalayavana had disturbed his sleep, he immediately burned to death. And then Vishnu appeared before Muchukunda, and Vishnu, the moment Muchukunda saw Lord Vishnu, he immediately understood, "Oh, the Supreme Lord Vishnu." He immediately offered his obeisances and prayed to him to please him. And then Lord Vishnu blessed him, saying that he would get liberated from this material world of birth and death very quickly. And so then he came out of the cave and he went to the Gandhamadana hills in Himalayas near Badrinath, and there he performed a lot of austerities and he went back to Godhead. So like this, the threat of Kalayavana was neutralized by Krishna. And now he came back. When Krishna came back to Mathura, he shifted all the Yadava family to Dwaraka. And then for the 18th time, when Jarasandha attacked Mathura, Krishna and Balaram came out of the Mathura fort, and then Krishna left the battle without fighting. So, for a Kshatriya to leave the battlefield and run away is considered an act of cowardice, and it is never appreciated. It is the greatest insult for a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya by nature, and the dharma of a Kshatriya also dictates that he should never turn his back on a battlefield. But then Krishna is a transcendental personality. He is never bound by these material laws and principles. So, if an ordinary mortal king would flee from the battle, he would get humiliated for entire life. But then Krishna left that battlefield and went away. His act of leaving the battlefield without fighting is celebrated, and he is known as Ranachor. Ranachor means a person who left the battlefield and ran away. So you see how whatever act Krishna does, it becomes highly glorified. Just like if we steal something, then it is considered considered an immoral act, and we will be punished for that. But Krishna stole the butter and ghee and the curd from the gopis, and that is glorified. Various acharyas, the scriptures, they all glorify Krishna's stealing. So Krishna's stealing, Krishna's running away from the battlefield, these are all highly glorious acts. Krishna's every activity is transcendental and worth glorifying. So why Krishna and Balaram left the battlefield and went away is because Krishna had another business to attend to. Krishna had to attend to the wedding of Rukmini. Rukmini's wedding had been organized against her wishes by her brother Rukmi with Shishupala. And Rukmini had sent a letter to Krishna to come and take her away from her unwanted wedding. So Krishna wanted to go and abduct Rukmini Devi, and so therefore he went away from the battlefield. When Krishna left the battlefield, Jarasandha also pursued him. But then Krishna and Balaram, after some time, when they saw that Jarasandha was continuously pursuing them, they climbed on top of a hill. And when they climbed the hill, Jarasandha surrounded that hill with lot of inflammable material, and he set it on fire. And when Krishna and Balaram saw this, they jumped from the top of the hill and they escaped unseen. While Jarasandha and his troops, they thought that, oh, now Krishna and Balaram have burned to death. And they went back to Magadha. In the meantime, Krishna and Balaram went to the wedding of Rukmini Devi, and from there Krishna abducted Rukmini Devi and brought her to Dwaraka, where he married her in a suitable manner. After this, Krishna married Satyabhama. Satyabhama was the daughter of one of the kings under the Yadava rule by the name Satrajit. This Satrajit, he was a great devotee of the sun god Surya, and he had, as a benediction, got a very valuable jewel called the Syamantakamani. The unique characteristic of this Syamantakamani was that every day it would produce one mound of gold. You can imagine such a valuable jewel. Every day it will produce one mound of gold. So this Syamantakamani was very valuable, and it was possessed by Satrajit. But due to some misunderstanding, some miscommunication, Satrajit came under the misconception that Krishna had stolen the Syamantakamani from his brother Prasenjit. Actually, Prasenjit had taken the jewel and he had gone to the forest and he had been killed by a lion. And when Prasenjit was killed by the lion caught hold of that Syamantakamani. But then later, Jambavan, Jambavan was a personality who had assisted Lord Ramachandra in his fight against Ravana. So Jambavan was a very old personality. He was still living even during the time of Lord Krishna. So this Jambavan came across this lion possessing this Syamantakamani, and then Jambavan had a hand-to-hand combat with the lion, and he killed the lion and he took possession of the Samantakamani. But Jambavan is a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. He was not very much attached to that jewel. So he gave it to his child to play around with the jewel. He did not attach much importance to it. But then Satrajit, he started spreading the rumor that Krishna has killed Prasenjit and taken away the jewel. So now Krishna had to set right his reputation. So Krishna went to the forest, and after searching out in the forest, he came across this jewel being played with by Jambavan's child. And then Krishna, when he wanted to take the jewel away, Jambavan came and stopped him. Jambavan did not recognize who was Krishna, and so he challenged him, if you want to take this gem, you have to fight with me. And there was a mega fight between Jambavan and Krishna, both of them punching each other, hitting each other, wrestling, fighting, rolling on the ground. All these things was going on. And Jambavan was a very powerful personality. You can imagine, he killed a lion with his bare hands. But still, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the fight progressed, slowly Krishna's punches were so powerful that slowly Jambavan started tiring, and he felt that he was not able to fight to his full capacity. So actually, this Jambavan is a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So the question arises, why did he not recognize Lord Krishna? The reason is because Krishna wanted to have a mock fight with his devotee, and so therefore Krishna did not allow that realization to come into Jambavan's heart. But then, having fought with Krishna for so long, and Krishna had become pleased with Jambavan's fighting, and so therefore when Krishna became pleased with Jambavan's fighting, Jambavan realized, oh my God, I am such a powerful person, nobody on this earth can match my strength. And if this person whom I am fighting with, he is able to withstand my strength and he is able to win over me, then it has to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when this realization dawned upon him, Jambavan stopped fighting, and then he looked at Krishna and he said, are you not the same Lord Ramachandra, my Supreme Lord? And then Krishna smiled and revealed his true personality. Then Jambavan very happily gave back that Samantakamani to Krishna, and he also had a grown-up daughter, Jambavati. He requested Krishna to marry her also. And this is how Krishna married Jambavati, and he brought her back to Dwaraka. And he brought back the Samantakamani also and handed it over to Satrajit and explained the whole thing. When Satrajit heard this, he felt very ashamed, because he had spread false rumors about Krishna. So he wanted to make amends. He felt he was really, truly, sincerely repentant. So then Satrajit thought that if I have to repent for my wrongful action, then only way is, let me hand over my daughter in marriage to Krishna. So his daughter was Satyabhama, who was a greatly beautiful and qualified girl. And then Satyabhama also wanted to desire to marry Krishna, and so therefore Krishna accepted the hand of Satyabhama and he married her. This is how Krishna came to marry Satyabhama. Satrajit presented the Samantakamani also to Krishna, but then at his heart he was not very willing to give away that Samantakamani. And Krishna, because he is Paramatma, he knows every living entity's heart. So Krishna also, he accepted the jewel and gave it back to Satrajit. And he said, I have no desire to possess this, you can keep it. And so like this, then Satrajit was also happy, and he continued keeping the Samantakamani in his possession. It was around this time that the Yadavas got the news that the Pandavas had been burned down in the house of Shallak. Although Krishna is the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing is hidden from his view. Still, he felt it is inappropriate for him not to go to Hastinapura and express his condolences. So therefore, Krishna and Balaram went to Hastinapura and met Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra. They met all of them, and expressed their condolences and participated in the grieving. Of course, personalities like Gandhari, Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, they were all genuinely grieving over the perceived death of the Pandavas. Why? Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana and others, they were putting up a show. But then Krishna and Balaram stayed for some time in Hastinapura to share their grief with the Kaurava household. And while Krishna and Balaram were there in Hastinapura like this, suddenly one day Satyabhama came to Hastinapura. So Krishna and Balaram were surprised. Satyabhama was supposed to be in Dwaraka, but suddenly she has landed up in Hastinapura, and she was very grieving, she was crying, and she was in a very aggrieved state. So when Krishna saw this, he asked Satyabhama, "What has happened? Why have you suddenly come to left Dwaraka and come to Hastinapura? What has happened there? Looks like some big calamity has come upon Dwaraka. Please tell what has happened." So what had happened? Why did Satyabhama rush from Dwaraka to Hastinapura, and why was she aggrieved? Please join us in our next episode of the Mahabharata to know about this. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.